Before I start this lesson, I'd like to give all praise and glory and honor unto Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, the bond to the apostles, elders, and bishops, a great millstone who rule well and teach well. Shalom to the 144,000 men that especially get believing this word in all true sincerity and sacrifice their lives on us to do so. Shalom to the men, women, and children that's tuning in and listening. And shalom to the Israelite foreign scattered abroad of all four corners of the earth. The Heavenly Father named Yahweh, his only begotten Son named is Yahweh Shai. And Lord Wednesday, edifying, quick, straight to the point. This video will be entitled From Captives to Conquerors. I titled this lesson like this because, just meditating the things that's going on in the spirit. It won't be much longer until, the elect will be beamed up. And Lord willing, I'm of that number and many men before me. Lord willing, I'm of that number. But we, reflecting on our history as an Israelite nation, we have more so been captives than on top. We've been put under captivity from a long list of captivities. And now it's going to come to a point of where we all are going to, everybody on the world will witness, and everybody on the earth and planet will witness the rising of Israelite authority and establishment in the planet Earth, without no contest, without any coexisting rule, right? Alongside with the Israelite rulership. If that isn't what you're looking forward to, then either you're going to get beaten to subjection or you're going to just perish. But the time of being a Israelite captive, that's going to be long removed out of the planet Earth. But let me see here. I'm going to start off in this Luke real quick. Hang on a second. This is, clicked on the wrong thing. This is Luke chapter 21. I start at verse 24, straight to the point. Verse 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, right? And they who fall by the edge of the sword are what? The Israelites, by way of Esau, Edom. And this is red letter, which Yahweh Shai prophesying of 70 AD. But we're still in those, we're about to go through another 70 AD, but a greater event than 70 AD. 70 AD was a horrific event, but we're going to go through something like that, but worse, right? And shall be led away captive into all nations, which all Israelites was. When the Lord said, flee ye unto the mountains, we had a period of time in rulership where we did rule, where we did have our oppressors under our foot. But over the course of time, Esau, Edom regained power within the Renaissance time period, right? Renaissance, the rebirth of Christianity, and the rebirth of Rome 2.0. Right, that old dragon, right, which are in the midst thereof depart out and let them, I'm reading verse 21. Verse 24, right, led away captive into all nations, which we are still to this day captives, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the time of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled, meaning what? When Yahweh Shai comes back, he's going to establish the nation of Israel, right? We all are technically Gentiles now, because we didn't grow up in the land. We lost our heritage. We got the heritage beat out of us and erased from our minds, right? But the Heavenly Father restored that unto us. So though we once knew this, right, we discontinued from our heritage, which is written in Jeremiah, and then in Ezekiel, we got the Spirit of the Lord came back upon the men on the earth, right? Yahweh Shai opened the seals, and now, you had Elijah, right? Elijah, John the Baptist, and then you got other high priest Abba Bibbins, right? Who came on the scene to preach and prophesy in these last days, right? So we're in the latter end of the latter end, right? But we're going to establish the witness and to witness the rulership of a Israelite authoritative rulership, right? Regardless of what power structure, and that's another thing too. The Lord is going to destroy power structures. He's going to destroy governments when he comes, right? He's going to destroy all of these things that, people may fear on the earth, right? By way of Esau, Edom, and these other heathen, right? So let me go to this. This is Revelation chapter 19 and verse 11. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon it, upon him him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war. And that's Yahweh Shai. He's coming back to what? Wage war on these Edomite kingdoms and these other heathen kingdoms as well, right? The Lord is quite literally going to come back in the angelic force and the angelic power, Isaiah 47, right? And wage war. And he's going to be victorious. He's not going to just come back and make a grand entrance just to not win. That's anticlimactic, and that's not what's written. Verse 12, his eyes were a flame of fire, and his head were on his head were many crowns representing the complete and utter subjection and destruction of these kingdoms, right? The Lord is coming back to wage war. What they say, kick ass and take names, that's what the Lord is going to do. And in that process, right, of doing all of those things, he's doing that in the name of his Father, right, which is Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, and on the behalf of Israel, right? Because why? We was always captives. We was always, a vast majority of the time, Israelites were captives, right? We had times where we had a period of rulership for a short period of time, but you see all these heathens constantly been having rulerships. The earth been under heathen rule for a very, very long while, right? But now we're going to see the end of these heathens' rulership, right? The visions that Daniel received with the image, right? That gold being the Persians and Medes. Salakia, I'm tripping. It's not the Persians and Medes. That gold being the Babylonians, the silver being the Persians and Medes, right? After the Persians and Medes, the Greeks, right? And then the latter end of that was what? The Rome, right? So Rome is ruling again. And through the NATO and EU, they're still ruling now. But the chief of that is that whore that sit upon the beast, which is a whole different situation in Revelations. But now we see, right, that the Lord is going to come back and bring fire and judge that whore that sitteth upon the beast. So, and to not make that confusing, right, the one in Daniel was the one with the statue, and the one with the woman sitting upon the beast is in Revelations, right? Both represent heathen rulerships, right? But they all going to fall, nonetheless. So, from here, I'm going to go ahead and grab Isaiah 14, and I ain't going to make this too long. Lord wants to be edifying as well. So let me grab this real quick. This is Isaiah chapter 14. I'm going to grab Daniel as well. This is Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 1. For the Lord Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob and yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. Right? So plain and simple. What? The Lord have chosen Israel to rule. Right? All 12 tribes of Israel, and they will be set in their land. Right? And the strangers, which is the Israelite foreigners, shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave into the house of cleave to the house of Jacob. Meaning what? The Israelites will be set in their land, which is Israel, and they all will have their parts of the land, which was already promised to them. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord Yahweh for servants and handmaids. So what? We will possess, right, after Yahweh Shai come back and subdue these nations, right? He's going to put us in our own land, and we're going to have slaves. One word to sum it up, slaves. Just like, okay, and the verse also says that, right? They shall take them captives who captives they were. So what? Take them as captives, right? Who captives they were. Because we were captives under all of these nations, right? Judges goes into that, right? We was even in, when you go in Sirach, right? We read the prologue of Sirach, King Euergetes, and so on and so forth. We was captives under those heathens. And those heathens have been conquering and destroying us since. Right? Ever since we go off against the Heavenly Father, what? The heathens know when to strike. And they have been capitalizing on that for so long. So now the Lord is going to come back and change that permanently. And they shall rule over their oppressors. And Esau, you don't like to hear that he's going to be ruled over by his enemy. Right? And ruled over by his enemy with what? The iron fist. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Shai. And there's not going to be no let up. There's not going to be no moment of breathing room. And by that, I mean, there's not going to be another time in history after Yahweh Shai comes back and establish the rulership of Yahweh Bashim Shai. There's not going to be a time of where, we're going to catch the Israelites slipping. And anything they're going to think like that is going to be beat out of them. They ain't even going to have the chance to think that. And if they try to, the Lord could have it to where brothers may put that in the heathen mind just to flex their power. In the name of Yahweh Bashim Shai. Right? But anyways, verse 3, it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord Yahweh shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage where thou was made to serve. And yeah, this is exactly what we're going to inherit and experience, right? The elect, right? Hopeful elect. Going to experience, because why? We was made servants and handmaids, right? Boys was turned into harlots. Women was already harlots, but even, man, it's just so many atrocities. You know, as a man being defiled by a heathen in front of your women, right? Having the heathen taking your child and never seeing them again, destroying your household, coming for the so-called Black, Latino, and Native American man, destroying their land. It's already enough. And that's another thing too. These heathens have destroyed our land, right? Destroyed our land, destroyed our bodies, and destroyed our household. And you know supposed to be angry about that? You're eating and drinking poison. You can't even have a family. You can't even own anything. So what? That means in essence you're a slave. And that's what it is. And the Lord is going to completely destroy, right? I'm going to jump to verse 5. The Lord Yahweh have broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. So what? These elites are going to be destroyed, right? They're not going to get no more power from the left-hand side. You know, the Lord had been using Satan to give these elites what's the word? Satan had been giving these elites some power. But there's going to be a time of where what? That power is going to run out. The spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Shai. So, actually, I'm going to grab one in Daniel, and then I'm going to close out. So, I'm going to grab this real quick. This is Daniel, what's that? Is it 2 and 44? Let me see. Yeah, it's 2 and 44. This is Daniel chapter 2 and verse 44. And in the days of these kings shall the power of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, which are the heathen. The other people are the heathen. And it's going to be left to Israelites. The southern kingdom, beginning with the head tribe Judah, and all the way down to Issachar, which is the so-called Mexicans, but beginning with the so-called Negroes, right, to the Latinos and Native Americans. But it shall be broken, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and shall stand forever. And yeah, that's pretty plain and simple. Once the Lord Yahweh Shai comes through, as Jake say, as the Lord Yahweh Shai comes through and destroy these heathen, he's going to establish the kingdom, which shall be left to no heathen. We're not going to coexist with heathen. They're not going to coexist with us. There's not going to be, the so-called white man. No, it ain't going to be none of that. Ain't going to be none of that. And that's how that's going to be. But Lord, when is yours edifying, I'm going to give all praise and glory and honor unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Lord, when is yours edifying, and also the next one, Shalom.